Good morning, children. It is day 19 of this 8-week muscle building video trainer. Yesterday, we targeted biceps, triceps, and calves. Today, we're gonna be hitting my favorite body part. Why I say it's my favorite body part is because it's a weakness of mine and I've got injuries there. So I like the challenge of turning this weakness into a weapon. Hence, today is gonna be my favorite day, and that is shoulders. We're gonna be hitting giant sets, really targeting the anterior, the lateral, the posterior head of these delts to ensure that we get that three-dimensional look, and we won't be able to get through a single door. We'll need a double door in order for us to fit through. There's no reason why you can't be putting everything into today. You shouldn't be tapping on that nail when we're hitting this workout. We should be smashing it. Get it done. Get that nail into that wood, and then you've got the entire weekend to recover. Speaking of the weekend, you'll have to still do your cardio, your 15 minutes in the morning of high intensity interval training. But those intervals are only 1 minute after every 4. 15 minutes, remember. And then later in the evening, or in the afternoon, you're gonna be doing your steady state cardio for 20 minutes. But this is what I suggest: get outdoors. As bodybuilders, generally, we spend too much time indoors, whether we're working from an office or whether you're a personal trainer. You're gonna be stuck in gas chambers. When I say gas chambers, air-conditioned units. A lot of the filtered air units are not changed out all the time, so you could be breathing in contaminants, you could be breathing in hidden molds, and those all have estrogen-like effects. We don't want our estrogen going up and our testosterone plummeting. And it can, elevate your cortisol levels, getting stressed, being contained. It's like if you have an animal and it's caged all the time, it's probably not gonna be as relaxed and chilled out as a wild animal without predators. So it's the same sort of thing. When I go out and I go running in the hills, or if I'm going for a bike ride, I just feel that my cortisol levels are coming down. I'm able to breathe in air that doesn't have so many pollutants. So number one, if I'm able to get rid of a lot of the free radicals that are in the air within these sealed units, and I'm able to get away from these estrogen-riddled sort of particles, and get out there and lower my cortisol levels and breathe in fresh air, then that can only be a good thing. It's gonna be good for you mentally, it's gonna be good for you physically, psychologically. So get out there in the woods. I certainly will be. I'll see if I can get lost up there, take my girlfriend into the woods where no one can hear us scream, and do my cardio that way. I think I should stop talking now and get my in-cage in me and get ready for this workout. She's shaking her head over there. I thought she'd be used to it by now. Obviously not, I got a long way to go. Okay, so 1 scoop of in-cage. Remember, you should be staying really hydrated, getting your antioxidants within you, because we are building a lot of free radical damage, and antioxidants can be anti-aging, so think of it that way. You want to look young and beautiful? I obviously needed a lot more antioxidants. All right, let's do it. Damn, in-cage tastes good. So to begin with, that giant set on shoulders, we started off with a barbell press. Now you'll notice I was coming behind my head, behind the neck press, we call that. This is more comfortable for me, but it is usually a contraindication for the majority of people, because it does put your rotator cuff under a lot of strain. For me, it's perfect. Even though I've got a couple of torn tendons in there, didn't aggravate it much. I went quite a bit lighter than what I generally would. And we knocked out, well, I knocked out, quite a few repetitions there. You should be reaching failure at around 10 repetitions. Once done there, we moved immediately from there to the side raise with dumbbells. Now you may notice that my arms are a little more bent than what they usually would be, and that's because it just takes stress and load away from my connective tissue and allows me to get a good mind-muscle connection and pump throughout the lateral head of my delts. And once we've done the lateral head, I immediately moved over to a bent over position, grabbed some slightly heavier dumbbells because this does not aggravate my rotator cuff, and did rear raises so we could then target the posterior head of our delts. So that was 3 giant sets back to back there. And then, we were resting for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes in between each set there before moving on to our second giant set. So again, we were in the free weights area. This time I went to a machine press to begin with. Again, I like to start today with these compound movements while I'm at my strongest, and to ensure that I'm activating and releasing as much testosterone as I possibly can in these compound movements. This is a muscle building video series. That's why I try to incorporate as many little tiny hacks as possible to raise my own natural testosterone levels, to raise my natural growth hormone levels, and put them all together to pack on as much muscle as possible, not only looking at calories, not only looking at the amount of weight that I'm putting on the bar. And that was one of those hacks, starting with his compound exercises. So we did a shoulder press, then immediately moved onto a front dumbbell raise, and I was holding onto a single dumbbell with my palms like in a triangle, like that, facing down. And I was raising over eye line, just above my head, to really target my anterior head of the delt there, and it worked. I got such a pump on that exercise, such a pump. And then once done with that, at around 10 repetitions, moved immediately onto, it's a cross between a side raise and an upright row. It's the only way I can describe it. You could call it a side raise, but you'll notice that my arms were quite bent, and I was pulling up and out at the same time. Doing this, I find, with my palms facing behind, really does isolate the lateral head of the delts. Really, really burns, gets a pump, and when you go through it, you'll experience it yourself and probably nod your head in acknowledgement. So 10, 12, I think I probably did about 15, 16 repetitions there, and that was absolute failure. Rested for a couple of minutes and then repeated that process again twice more. Okay, so we did 3 sets in total. And at this point, my delts were pumped, and at this point, I made sure that I completely drunk all of my in-caged so I could finish my last exercise, hopefully, fingers crossed, as strong as I begun with my first exercise, and that was with upper abs. So we did an upper ab exercise with some resistance coming from the cable. So you'll need a decline bench, you'll need a lower pulley cable, and you'll need a couple of handles behind just to hold on to that resistance. So when I did that, it was difficult. Like, I struggled on the first few sets, really, really bad. And I think the problem being is that I chose a decline bench that was way too steep. You should probably find a decline bench that isn't quite as steep as that. You'd be much better off. I know I would have been better off. I did see a bench the other side of the gym, but it probably would have taken me about 10 minutes to struggle to carry that all the way across to the cable. So I just made do with what I had there. And after the first 3 sets, I couldn't do any more with resistance. So the last couple of sets, I did it without resistance. And that is the great thing about me going through this process with you, is that we both have an understanding of what we're going through, and I can better relate and teach you as a coach of what to do, what's bad, what's good, how to navigate our way through these things, as opposed to me writing it on a bit of paper, putting my hands together and hoping that you're going to be able to get through this. So, you can thank me. Yeah, go ahead and thank me. I'm suffering for you. I'm bleeding for you here. And I feel like I did bleed and left everything on the gym floor. But you'll notice that I was going very slow. I was trying to close that distance between my sternum and my pelvis there, just to really target the abs, and my abs are hurting now. So now I've got to flush all this lactic acid out of my body and start replenishing it with fresh, clean blood that isn't only oxygen rich, but nutrient rich as well. So this is the time, remember, that you're going to have another hack that will release natural growth hormone levels in your body without the use of carbohydrates that will stunt the release of natural growth hormone. So if I was to take carbohydrates now, that's going to stunt that release. So this is another hack that I like to include along with the sauna, along with starting with compound exercises. Several of these little hacks People may say, God, it's so small though. Does it really matter? Is that bro science? Look, all these little tiny things add up. When you come to the gym and you push yourself that hard, believe me, you need every little advantage that you can get, because every single day, week after week, month after month, year after year, they all add up. All right, so get that cardio done now. I've come back in the evening to do my cardio because I was just too busy. I did a bit of a cool down just so I could increase my blood flow and get the leakage into my system just for 5 minutes, got out and come back and to do my cardio, and I've decided to hit some swimming. So I still want to keep my fitness up to a certain degree, a minimal degree, I guess, for my hybrid athleticism. So, you know, this weekend I'm going to go for a run out into the hills, probably get on my watt bike as well for one of my cardio sessions, or maybe a couple of cardio sessions, and I'm going to get a couple of cardio sessions in the pool, one being now. So I'm going to take it easy. Probably, there's a few ways that I can do this. I can take it easy for like 4 minutes, and then go as hard as I can for a minute, which is pretty hard for a minute for me. Or alternatively, I can go down slow and sprint back. And go down slow and sprint back, which my sprint is probably like a medium pace for anybody else. But you know, it helps me keep the feeling of the water, you know, keeps somewhat buoyant, because I do generally sink. So when I do go into more extensive volume as I'm preparing for my Ironman events later in the year, you know, I haven't lost everything. I'm not starting from complete scratch, because I have spent a few weeks out of the pool before now, and I get an asthma attack doing one length again. So it's always good to keep some sort of fitness up and keep things different. It's very good to stay as mobile and versatile as possible. I think it's good for injury prevention, and you know, the more applicable we can be to different environments, the more conditioned we're going to be for them. So I'm going to warm up for a little while, and then I'll start using the paddles to give me a little bit more resistance, and then I'll put the buoy between my legs for a little bit more resistance a little bit after. But you won't want to watch me for 15 minutes, so I'm just going to go and make that start.